Worsley was known as the principal seat of the English linen industry in the late 1800s. Corah's, which was situated here on Park Road in Worsbrough, was one of the largest employers in the local area. It got its name from its founder, Nathaniel Corah. He set up in the Globe Inn on Silver Street in Leicester. From 1830, he and his three sons ran a textile manufacturing empire, which had a close relationship with Marks & Spencer's from 1926. Corah's in Worsbrough was mainly employed by women, and so I was honoured and was very lucky to have a chat with some of the wonderful women who worked here and find out how they helped shape this local area.
I went to work at Corah's in the office, doing statistics. What I did, I collected, I used to go on the factory floor and collect all the different figures from each, because it worked like a production line. Some put buttons on, some linked around the collars. So I went round each different part, collected all the figures, went back, and then I had to be able to tell, if the boss wanted to know, I had to tell him where everything were in factory. So, and what position they were in factory. And then I had to make sure that tallied with warehouse. So I was 17. It were an enormous building. I mean, we went, because we were office staff, we were actually at the front door. Because all the officers were at the front. The personnel manager were next to the door here, general office, and then the personnel manager were behind. We were upstairs in the production office. There were a time and motion office, because they were all on piecework, and they earned their own money, which was sometimes good and sometimes bad. They earned a lot more than me. There were wages office where I sometimes had to go and help out if they were struggling. And the managing director's office, which you avoided at all costs if possible. But you used to sometimes send for me fat figures. And it's like, be a bit scared then. But yeah, I enjoyed working at Corah's. I went all the way around the factory, knew everybody. I'd gone to school with most of the girls anyway. So yeah, really enjoyed it. It was very light because of the sewing, so lots of windows and roof lights. It was like that. I mean, when we worked at Corah's, quite often we went to ship for his lunch on a Friday, because we finished early on Friday, pie and peas at the ship, or we went to the wharf for the most amazing steak and onion sandwiches. They were to die for. I can still see them now. Got a tea cake full of like braised steak and onion. It was absolutely gorgeous. Everybody in Worsbrough knew about steak and onion sandwiches at work.
Well, I just worked at a local shop, that's all. And then later I went to work at Corah's. That's when my children were growing up. I did part-time in the shop.
I used to live at Ward Green. I was born up there and I lived up there with my mum and dad. And I went to work at Corah's because I could walk here and walk back. And I didn't leave until I got married, which were in I can't remember the dates. I think it was 74 when I got married. So then I moved up Cudworth, but then I come back down here, just sew garments together, jumpers, put necks on them, sew side seams up, sleeves, put sleeves in out, go into work, 8 o'clock, sit at a machine. You could still ever talk to lasses that work round you. Just sew, but we were on piecework, so you didn't do a lot of talking. You did more sewing, and that was it. We'd have his breaks and his dinner, go down to the canteen, then you could have a chat, and then back to working.
Oh, it was quite big. Yeah, lots of garments in and Yeah, it did well.
And then there were an area where they used to just do all cutting out, and then an area where they used to press all garments. And we'd get them off at cutting, sew them, and then they'd gut at press, and then they'd be bagged. I was gutted when it shone. I weren't there then, I'd already left, but I was still friends with a lot of lasses that worked there. And now it was end of an era.
It was, there were buses and loads of buses, weren't they? Picking everybody up. Yeah, big factory.
Yeah.
I come from up Bank End, Worsbrough, up at back of where St Thomas Churches. Yeah, so that's where I was born. And then I went to Worsbrough High School, like, as you know. And then when I was 14, I left school. I'd got 2 jobs to go to. One was Corah, which was just round the corner from where I lived. The other was Woolworths, so therefore I picked the local one. So I went to work at Corah, at Hughes Lane Corah at Bank End. And then at 19, I was pregnant, I got married, so I left. And then lived with my mum and dad. Me and my husband lived with my mum and dad for 2 years. I had another baby, 2 in 15 months. We were there 2 years, then we got this house down Oakdale, which I'm still in 57 years later. And I had 2 more children born in 10 Oakdale, which now they're 55, 53, so you can tell how long. So I've got 4 children, 59, 58, 55 next month and 53. 10 grandchildren, 8 great-grandchildren. That's me. So then when my youngest was early enough to leave, and I managed to get a part-time job, fruit stalls on market. I worked for Brian Barnard with fruit. There were no supermarkets then, big supermarkets, so everybody come to market. It was crowded. So you can guess from morning till night it was hard work, shouting next please, and they're all pushing in. So then I left him and I went to work for Roy Booth. So in all I was in market over 15 years. 8 o'clock at morning I'd go, get home at 6 o'clock. I've got 4 kids and husband which were a fitter at pit. They were all working different times, but we got through it. In them days there were no phones, no computers. They played with the dolls and the prams and whatever, and life seemed easier. I was lucky to get that house which is across from Dale Park, which is Dale Park. So they used to go and play and I'd keep shouting, Alan, I got 3 girls, 1 boy. They all played at park. They keep coming for a bottle of water, jam sandwich and all that thing. And that was that. And then when I got fed up at market, I put in a job at Oaklands, which was for council. I started as a domestic, but then I got onto care. So I became a carer for council. I stayed there 15 years. Then we got made redundant because they shut all, they shut all council homes up. So at 61, I thought I'd finish work. And then I went to park and somebody said, oh no, just a job for you. Gave me a bit of paper with a number on, and I rang it. And I got good, references, and so I got a job. And I said, I only want to work local because I don't drive. And I ended up with the best job I've ever had, which was working with learning disabilities. And I worked at Oakdale Close, Blackburn Street. Janet Cooper, who was boss, she treated me as one of her, I was only agency, but she was always on phone. Can you do this? And it was the best job I ever had. That took me just before I was 65, and then that was finished work.
My first job was at Berlin and Menders, what were on West Street, and I got in the office, was doing office work. And I liked it, because it were all, nice, but I found out that they were getting more money in the factory. And both my sisters worked there, she worked there and my sister between us. They were getting more money with piecework, so I sort of liked it, but then I got a job at Corah's, didn't I? I went to Corah's.
Just a big,
yeah, not very big.
It wasn't very big. They didn't employ a lot of people, but it was just a big room with lots of tables, with rolls of cloth that you make men's suits with, and our job was to find and mend the faults in that cloth. And I still remember warping weft knots now, and every time we see somebody with a suit on, we're looking, and say he's got a big weft knot on his collar.
Just office work, it used to have me doing wages and writing on little, there used to be little brown envelopes then, with the name and put the amount of money and that they'd done, you know. But I used to be watching all such as you, all mending, because there were old tables, weren't there, with, you know, up, and they'd all be sewing. I used to watch them all busy, and I used to be a bit bored. And then I thought, well, they gain more money than me and I'm bored. Because he'd give me a job and I'd do it and then I'd have to find me something else to do. So I was constantly finding work for me in the office. So I was fascinated with what you did.
Yeah.
And they all earned decent money, didn't you, because you're on piecework.
I mean, when you first started, I went from school and I went into a training centre, which were only a little area like this, about half the size of this room, with a few tables in, and I think they called a barrel that used to what training room, which were lovely. And then once she thought you were competent enough, you went out into the big factory, got your own big table and started work, but it was piecework. But there were, it was Mr. Stubley, the what manager, and it was Lorna, that was supervisor, and she used to have a table like like a lectern, and she got glasses on the end of her nose, and she'd pretend she was reading something, but she was looking at everybody under her glasses. And when you got up to go to the toilet, she'd go like that, time you. You were being timed. And she used to come and drag you out at the toilet sometimes. She did with younger ones, with older ones she didn't. But she was, I was a bit scared of her. They were strict with break times, weren't they, and dinner times. They had a little canteen for a little factory. They had a little canteen, and it was, but everybody knew everybody. I'd got relatives work there as well. Both my sisters, my cousin, a lot of neighbours that I knew, and they used to, a woman from canteen used to come round while you were doing your work, and she said, what do you want for dinner? And we used to, you could tell them you'd want, I don't know, egg and beans or beans on toast or something for your dinner, and they used to go by you from the shop and make your dinner.
The first one I was on the machine, putting collars on, jumpers, and my second one was cutting machines. Well, I liked it at Corah's me, I just did. And literally you just walk down the road and you want to work, and you used to see, literally hundreds of people walking down from all the streets, didn't you?
Yeah, it used to be dead busy, you couldn't get a bus when Corah's turned out.
But we loved it because we were in walking distance.
Yeah, because I can remember Berlin and Menders, me and my older sister, we used to run up home at 3:30 because we wanted to watch Payne Place.
I had a little boy, unmarried mother you were then, no single parent thing, at 19, and so I actually got my own house and lived down the bottom of Ardsley, just me and my son on my own. And it was while he was little that I ended up working at Corah's. Well, I used to work at Roland Wynne's, the Vauxhall agents, then in Barnsley, that was up New Street. And I did wages there. Never got my maths O-level, but I always worked with figures all my life. So I worked there, and I applied for the job at Corah's. It was £5 a week extra. £5 a week in the mid-late 70s was a lot of money. So, and I did wages at Corah's. And of course, they were done manually, and there were over 800 people were there. So yeah, there were 3 of us did it. It was a proper full-time job. And factory used to finish early on a Friday afternoon. We didn't. We had to stay until we got everything done. We weren't allowed to leave early. It was just a hive of industry. There used to be central offices right in the middle of the floor where operation managers were. And then there were sewing lines all the way down, and there were supervisors on each line, and they had so many people on each line. And then there were cutting section and examining section. There'd be 3 examining sections, and then there were presses where every garment went on through the press and it were like steamed. before it were placed, you know, and sent to Marks and Spencer's. And I mean, I saw the other side of it because I did wages for a while, and as it went, so the staff were leaving and it declined, and cutting was automated, so the garments would come in ready cut. You didn't have the cutting anymore. They built a computerised warehouse down where the old canteen used to be. And so I got in on that right from the start, and I worked in warehouse office then, doing that. Yeah, it was a bit more interesting than wages, to be fair, yeah. So I used to deal with the buyers at Baker Street. Head office was M&S Baker Street, and I used to have to deal with the buyers, sending samples and stuff, you know, so I had 2 different jobs while I was there, yeah.
I started work on my 15th birthday. The day I was 15, I started at Ward Green School, Ward Green Co-op, and I worked there I was 25 when I left there, and I loved it at Ward Green Co-op. I loved all Ward Greeners. They were really nice people. We knew everybody's coat number, and, you know, we used to call people by the coat, and Mrs. 24898, you know, something like that. But they were such nice people, lovely families. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then, but of course in them days, when you got married, you had to leave. There weren't many people allowed to stay on. Well, I was allowed to stay on for three days a week for a couple of years, and then I had to leave. And the next job I worked in a dress shop in Barnsley. And then later on I went back to a shop in Ward Green that Len, who used to be landlord of the Manor House Inn, that's now flats or something, I got a job in his shop and worked there for another 6 years with Ward Greeners, and then I went to work at Bank End shop for Ralph and Christine Spilsbury, and I worked there 18 years. No, I think everything's all right. I think they've made a good job at Canal and Rout Reservoir and what have you. I think it's all nice, and I've still got lovely neighbours, and everybody talks to everybody else, so maybe it's just me, I just talk a lot, you know. But they all answer, so that's something. Yeah, but I love Worsbrough people. Yeah, but I knew more Ward Greeners than Briggers, as we called them, because I didn't, you know, we didn't live up. I didn't go up Brig a lot. On it at Co-op at up Worsbrough Bridge. We used to call it New England Court then. Yeah, so, and down here it were always Brig Bottom, you know, or Brig End.
Left school on the Wednesday and started at Corah's on the Monday. Somebody that come to see us at school, wasn't it?
I can't remember.
Did they encourage it then? And
no,
yeah,
the job opportunity.
The one like Corah's
careers officer.
Bulls. And what was the one?
Oh,
and that one at Barnsley.
Gents.
Yeah.
But there were a careers officer that come to school,
I can't remember.
and you had like a talk with him, and they suggested stuff, didn't they, for you?
Yeah.
They actually wanted me, they begged me to stay up when my science teacher did, because I'd got good results, and my mum just couldn't afford it for me.
First wage packet.
No, it's
£3.71.
Oh, I can't remember.
Mine was
£3 somewhere.
Then you went on, because I went straight on to cutting, and you had to go to, what they call it, with the learnt linking and all that, and then you come out on shop on floor like.
Yeah.
But who I worked with, they were a very good crowd, you know, and they sort of looked after you, sort of thing, you know.
Well, I were in that little...
You were on drying off, weren't you, when you
I
first
was cutting
started?
blinking tags.
Oh, yeah. Tab cutter, that's what you were.
And I had like a little thing that got hot, and it like melted them.
Oh, wow. Well, there's some jobs that were better than others then, were there?
Oh yeah, I didn't stay in that one very long. I went out onto cutting. It was just what everybody did. Nobody just, you know, you just
That's
It
what
was
we did.
a good earner at Corah.
Corah's
That's why
good,
everybody were
yeah.
encouraged to go there.
Piecework,
When I went on to cutting, we were on piecework and we earned some really good money.
Yeah.
Used to give me on board on Friday and then she used to keep me back on Tuesday.
Because when I tell you I worked at Illards, and as it happens, my husband's brother, he was manager there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know I didn't know him then. Anyway, we were his brother. And when I told him we were leaving, he says, "What are you leaving for?" I says, "You're not paying me enough. I can earn more money at Corah's."
You had to do, I can also remember them with pins and you had to pick so many up and see how many you could get in there.
They got that eye test.
What job you got when you...
Yeah,
numbers
right.
in.
It's a few bits like that one. I can remember doing that.
The thing is,
I
we've
can't remember.
been mostly women. They started at 15 and same as what we all did, left to have babies.
Yeah,
So there were all jobs. There were all this,
Well, in between.
Did you?
I left once to go and work away in Skegness.
Oh, wow,
For a
yeah.
season.
I thought you'd gone to Skegness from Woolworths.
No, I was at Corah's, so I left then. And then when I came back, I went to Super Suits and they put me on pressing seams. And I only went 2 days, and my mum came to get me up the third day. So I'm not going back there. She says you get back to Corah's then. So I went through to Corah's, and then they sent me on again.
So you see, it's
And
so
then I
easy
got
then.
fed up. I wanted a break, and she says, "Oh, we'll leave and come back when you're ready."
Yeah.
So I had a few months off, then went back.
Wow. So yeah.
Quite easy to do that.
Yeah, it was easy.
They'd have
Jobs
you-
were easy
They'd
then.
have you back if you were a good worker.
Yeah.
And there were nearly always a job to go back to. I think in them days, women didn't go back to work.
No, I didn't
We were
work
that
for 12
generation,
years.
but now they all seem to tend to go back.
Yeah.
The
But
childcare-
they've got to. They've got
They've no choice now, have
No.
they? We just we did.
Didn't you used to have to fill a form in to say you were going to go back?
Yes, otherwise you had to
Yeah,
pay
you didn't-
maternity.
you had to
leave.
get-
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all tins and outs.
Yeah.
We hope you have found this film insightful and you have enjoyed hearing about the women's experiences and memories of the workplace and times gone by.